Hello there, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Purple Breakdown. I am your host, Alex, and I'm so excited to be back here on another episode with you. It is Monday, and it is an absolutely gorgeous day here. The weather is amazing. The sun is out. The sun's staying out longer now because of daylight savings time, and oh, it's so beautiful. Today it hit over 70 degrees where I am here, and I absolutely love it today. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about the Baltimore Ravens, and oh boy, is there a lot to go into today, especially since tampering just opened up today and full free agency opens up in 2 days, but so much already happened today that we got to go into. But first, if you like the content that you are hearing, please consider liking and subscribing on the video and subscribing to the channel, commenting. Again, we got that new segment we're doing, so when you're commenting, I'm going to take those comments and bring them on to here. And if you're on Spotify, doing the same, following, leaving a review, liking the video, commenting as well, all that. So just want to get that out there, and thank you so much for listening and joining. Let's jump right into it. I want to start with the new segment and the comments today. So NTE, thanks so much for commenting and saying that is an amazing mentality that the Ravens need on the win now mode. Max Crosby saying what he did, I can't love it more than anything else in the world. It's a mentality that I hope as soon as that it's brought into the building, that when he comes there, it's a mentality they all take and bring into it, and that it just energizes everyone, and everyone can get going on this and get moving and bring a Super Bowl back to Baltimore. And Max Crosby can definitely help lead that, because an energy shift needs to happen in Baltimore where they push harder and bring forward more. And I want to see this mentality of shoot for the sky, because honestly, if you're a professional player, your goal shouldn't be to be average or just sort of sit around. Your goal should be to go win a Super Bowl regardless of what your team consists of. You want that should be your drive, and Max Crosby has that drive. And then David, you came out and you said, for some reason, it seemed Bateman just didn't get a fair shake this year. He comes through in big spots, and he doesn't get the drops in big moments like some of our other guys do, which I agree with. He has not always had key moments and drops, but he has had some. I remember 2 years ago when the Ravens lost to the Browns, and he dropped a pass that Lamar threw to him across the center of the field that he was wide open on, and it hit him in the face, and he dropped that. But that's the biggest one I can remember, and it's not as large as, well, Kyle Hamilton dropping the interception later on in that same game. He didn't get targets last year. I'm hoping he gets another shot this year with the Ravens. I doubt we replace him for what we would get back. But then again, maybe I have no idea what I'm talking about. Thank you for the update. Thank you so much for the comment, both of you, NT and David. Thank you so much for it. David, honestly, this is a situation where it's up to the coaches. I liked what he did 2 years ago. This past year, you're right. He didn't get the target share as before. He got 38 targets. He caught 19 passes. He had 2 touchdowns. His yardage went down dramatically. But he has shown up in moments, and at the same time has not fumbled in situations where other receivers like Mark Andrews and some of the defenders like Kyle Hamilton missing that interception against the Browns, or Zay Flowers in the AFC Championship against the Chiefs fumbling on the goal line that resulted in a touchback, giving it over to the Chiefs. And so I think they're shopping him around right now just to see what they can get, because they're looking at draft picks and just trying to get more draft capital. If it's true what Fowler was saying, but I think they may be inclined to give him another shot, because this is conflicting reports, and it's hard to know which way it goes. But the Ravens could give him another shot and see what he gets out of it, especially if they're going to do that, though. They need to add another weapon in to put around him to make sure that he is able to be that vertically stretching down the field receiver. And you got to remember, he didn't play all the games last year. He played 13 games, and Lamar being out hurt him badly, because Huntley didn't throw as much as he did the running, as much as he ran on the ground. So when you watch his games that Huntley played, he did a lot of running and less throwing. Now, his throwing that he did was short, quick, accurate passes that hit the receivers and let them go get the first down and through their legs. And that's not so much Bateman. Bateman is that delay time that Jackson works so well with, where he opens up and creates opportunities down the field by having extra time and creating extra time, so it's not a 2-second play. It's like a 5, 6, 7-second play that allows him to go make a play down the field and Lamar to chuck it down to him. So if that's going to happen, well, you need a better O-line to help make sure Lamar can do that, as well as putting in weapons that allow Bateman to exploit that and be able to be that vertical threat down the field and staying healthy, especially since when Cooper Rush was in there, Bateman was there. Cooper Rush couldn't throw worth anything. I was watching those games. As much as everyone hyped up Cooper Rush, and we all thought it would be amazing because of what he did at the Cowboys, and then he came to the Ravens, and it just didn't mix. The philosophy of trying to be able to work with any quarterback back there behind Lamar, the system just doesn't mesh. You need somebody who can play sort of like Lamar for that system to continue to mesh. And that's where Tyler Huntley works very well, and why the Ravens are bringing him back on that 2-year contract. Final comment I want to talk out and put for is Matt. Thanks so much for the comment. This comment made me laugh a lot. If this takes off, buy some furniture that isn't from my grandma's house. I know this has been commented on before. Yes, I know. It's pretty old stuff. It made me laugh. I would like to update my furniture one day, but please bear with me if you do not like the background. I just recently graduated from college this past year, and I don't have much money, so I'm not really able to go out and buy stuff, and I have to budget everything. So I'm working with what I got, and that's the best I can do at this moment. So if this picks off and it grows into something amazing and it becomes my future, then great, I'll update something, and I could dedicate so much more to this. But right now, there's not much to it, and I'm working with the money that I do have in this. Which, by the way, big milestone hit for the podcast. We are now at 50 subscribers, so thank you all so much for joining in and subscribing, and we are now at 50 subscribers. It makes me so happy to hear that. I'd love to keep this going and keep expanding more, so please keep sharing it, and 50 was a massive goal that we have finally hit, so thank you so much at big 50 subscribers. All right, those are the comments for the day. Again, if you'd like your comment featured in the shout out to all of you who did comment, then make sure to comment in the videos and it'll have a chance of coming on here. Thank you so much. All right, here we go. Now let's jump straight into it, because there's a lot of news that needs to happen today and that happened today that we need to talk about. So, tampering period began today, and that is when agents are legally allowed to start talking with, or organizations and the NFL teams are legally allowed to start talking and putting out contracts to the agents and the players from other teams that are going to be on free agency. And so that is what began today, and so much already happened when it comes to that. So Ravens have already made some moves in this. And when looking at this, everyone knows this past Friday, the Ravens made the trade for Max Crosby, and they're giving up 2 first-round picks to bring in Max Crosby. Everyone loves that trade. It's graded A's all around on both sides, and it's going to work out really well for the Ravens in the end of the day. The Ravens have also made some moves, and they're working towards fixing up the guard. They signed a guard from the New York Jets, it's Josh Simpson, to a 3-year, $30 million contract. So roughly $10 million a year. This is much more of a experience pickup, that the Ravens are looking for somebody that has played before and that has the experience playing within organizations to just bring in and sort of help put in the front and compete for a spot. It does not mean that they're not going to be drafting a guard in the draft. They better be drafting a guard in the draft, but this may be just bringing in an experienced guy that they can put on the opposite side of the line if Emory Jones Jr. steps up, have him there and play those first games and sort of let your rookies get used to it and get in, and by maybe the midpoint of the year later, you're looking at if they feel confident that rookie is now stepping up and going into that starting spot, or he plays the full year and in a year or two, that rookie now steps up into that spot and is playing. This past year for the Jets, his grades were not as high. He had a 56.9 overall PFF grade. His run blocking was a 56.7, and his pass blocking was a 62. He had 10 penalties and allowed 5 sacks. So there's a lot to work with, but he's 28 years old, he's 6'4", he's 330 pounds, and looking at it, it's just an experience pickup for the Ravens. That's what this is. I would have liked to see the run blocking grade a lot higher, because with looking at it, like, That's what the Ravens operate through most of the time. And typically when you look at the Ravens, when it comes to it, they have guards and offensive linemen that are much higher at the run than they are at the pass blocking, because that's what the Ravens operate through, is they operate through the run most of the time, because that's how their team is designed, especially with Derrick Henry back there. But I don't dislike this. This is a budget bring in at $10 million a year, something that they're trying to be a little more conservative on, and because they don't have as much money to go be spending on other stuff right now, and are trying to play conservatively, especially after bringing in Max Crosby and knowing what their needs are and just trying to add a little bit there. But expect them still to take a guard in the draft, even with bringing in Josh Simpson. All right. Other news, again, we covered it yesterday. Tyler Huntley got that 2-year extension, $11 million, $5 million guaranteed, up to $11 million with incentives. Again, we covered it yesterday, just to pick up, just so that it's the same thing. If Lamar goes down, there's already a quarterback that experienced the system, knows the system very well, can continue that system going forward. And really, up to that point, this is what the Ravens have brought in. The Ravens have brought in Max Crosby, they brought in Josh Simpson, and they've kept Tyler Huntley. And that's what the Ravens have done up to this point. However, the Ravens had 24 free agents going out, 1 restricted, 19 unrestricted, and it has resulted in an exodus at this point. So many other teams wanted the Ravens players, and we went into the players that could very well be leaving. Well, it has happened, and actually one of the things that I was thinking, well, I called it, was that Tyler Linderbaum has now signed with the Raiders. And I went into this saying yesterday, if you're the Raiders looking at this Max Crosby trade, it's so amazing because they have to thank Baltimore now for essentially supplying most of their draft for the next 2 years. And they're looking at it going, oh, this is amazing because now we don't just have 2 first-round picks this year. We have 2 first-round picks this year and 2 next year. And what do you do with 2 first-round picks this year? Well, you draft Mendoza in the first, then you go take a wide receiver, but you want a strong O-line? Well, you sign a center, and they signed Tyler Linderbaum. They gave him the blank check. They signed him to a 3-year contract, $60 million guaranteed, up to $81 million a year. For anyone doing the math on that, that's $20 million a year guaranteed, with up to $27 million a year with the incentives added on. So he could be making $27 million a year. That is a massive contract. That's just not market resetting. That's market breaking. So many centers are going to be asking for so much more money now because he got that contract. And it's a massive contract for him, and it may work out well for the Raiders because they do want a strong O-line to support Mendoza, but they got to thank the Ravens for not just giving them Tyler Linderbaum now, but also 2 first-round picks over the next years. And I think it'll turn out very well for the Ravens because we did get the number 1 defensive end in the league. But there he goes. And it was expected to come, and I think it's part of the reason why the Ravens were so willing to take Max Crosby. One, because they didn't have to give up too many players. They didn't have to give up any players with it. They just had to give up picks. But knowing that Linderbaum was probably not going to hit free agency and stay with the Ravens. As soon as he hit, he would just go. And he did. So that's number 1 off the board. And the Ravens have had 3 more leave just today. The next is Draymond Jones. He is going over to the Patriots now on a 3-year, $365.5 million contract. So he's getting paid big. He's going out to the Patriots. The Patriots need this. They need extra help on the edge, and Draymond can help with that. And I'm sad to see him go, but at the same time, we got Max Crosby now. The Ravens have Max Crosby. I was not expecting them once he got brought in. I talked about it yesterday. You can't really expect them to keep Draymond, especially when he's getting paid that. You can't be paying him that and be paying Max Crosby. That's just not going to work. You're going to start with Max Crosby on Mike Green, and then you'll add more depth around him. But Draymond Jones is now going over to the Patriots. He'll be wearing that Patriots colors, and I know one of my friends who's a Patriots fan is going to be very happy seeing him playing there. And remember, for those Patriots fans out there who are listening on this podcast, he's better at the pass rush than he is at the run stopping. And it shows. If you can add the right pieces around him, it'll help a lot. And especially this past year, you got to look at it and go, with Matabike being out and not having the strongest defensive line as it was, he didn't get back there as much, but he was one of the brighter spots on the Ravens, and I think with the right pieces around him and the right coaching, he could really turn out into something nice for them. All right, so let's keep going. We got 3 more to go. Next one is going to a Harbaugh. Jordan Stout signed a 3-year, $12.3 million contract with the Giants. This is Harbaugh coming back and going, I know the players I want from the Ravens. I know the ones that I like. I'm taking them while I can. And Jordan Stout is going to the Giants. And John Harbaugh didn't just take one of the Ravens free agents from his former team. He also got another, which he is signing Isaiah Likely, and the Giants are signing Isaiah Likely to a 3-year, $40 million contract. So Isaiah Likely is now out the door and going to the Giants. This is big moves for the Giants and bringing them up, and it hurts Baltimore watching these two guys go. Yeah, I mean, Stout is a great punter and has done very well for the Ravens over the past few years, I would have liked to have seen him stay, but he's going and following John Harbaugh. And then Isaiah Likely, it hurt seeing him go because of the connection he had with Lamar and just his size and how crazy he is at just showing up in the big moments and being able to make those catches. And yes, this past year did he regress a little, but he has so much upside, and he had a connection with Lamar. And that's going to go now, and he's going to the Giants. And the Giants are going to operate, I think Harbaugh is going to bring almost the same operation on the offense that he did at the Ravens, and that's why he's bringing in Likely. And now this is something that really does hurt the Ravens, watching Likely go, and Jordan Stout. And the Ravens will have to find a way to try and make up, because now they're lacking a vertically stretching the field tight end that Likely's provided. Because Mark Andrews is not going to stretch the field vertically like Likely does. Likely is just younger. He's, in my opinion, more athletic. Mark Andrews is stockier in build, is much more of a better blocker, and I'm not going to say he can't show up in big moments and catch stuff, but he's not the same as what Likely was, and this is something that will be, I think it's going to be debate in the Ravens community for years to come, of whether or not Andrews staying was the right choice or whether going after Likely and keeping Likely was the right choice. But we'll see coming. Now, the last one to go into is another Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh now came in, and he took another. And this is what makes the tight end position for the Ravens so abysmal, is that Charlie Kolar is going to the Chargers on a 3-year, $240.3 million contract over with the Chargers. And so the Harbaughs came in and stripped 3 players off the Ravens now already. And that's massive news, and it means that the Ravens are only left with Mark Andrews right now, and it's a must in free agency to go find a tight end and bring in a tight end now, as well as drafting one. Because the Ravens operate so heavily out of tight end formations, and they got to go find 2 more now to work in and bring in for that. And just looking at it, the Ravens were never going to be able to pay all 3 of them collectively. It's the question of, would the Ravens have rather kept Likely, or would they have rather kept Andrews? And that will be the debate going forward, and I can't answer what that looks like being better right now, because if you're wanting the Ravens to operate more out of a run game, I think having Andrews was the better choice. But if you're looking at Declan Doyle and how one of the ways that Declan Doyle can create explosive offensive plays and what he's trying to chase there, I think Isaiah Likely may have been better suited to that, especially if he's trying to create those down the field explosive plays by starting with the run game and then shifting over and just being able to hit down the field. Likely would be more of that. But we'll see this next year. This next year will be the answer to that. And I wish them all these players who are heading out, I wish them the best of luck on their respective teams that they're heading out to now. And I hope they play amazingly and do well and enjoy their careers. It just hurts to see some of them go. Final bit of news is that Keaton Mitchell has not had a tender put on him. He was the one restricted free agent. The Ravens did not put a tender on him, so he is now a unrestricted free agent, making him the 20th unrestricted free agent for the Ravens. And this could be a signal that he may not be returning to the Ravens. The Ravens may not be wanting him and building a different running back core behind Derrick Henry, which may signal that the Ravens are also just going to be drafting running backs in the draft. And so this is where I think part of the reason why they may be shopping Rashad Bateman around is to recognize how many holes there are, and the depth is lacking, that you have key talent there, but the depth is lacking a little bit, and so you want to add depth there. And how you're going to do that is by having a lot of draft capital, especially since you lost your first-round pick Yeah, well, essentially your first round pick is Max Crosby. You'd be giving up 2 first round picks for this year and next year, but they need to add, and you can't just solely add through free agency because the Ravens are a money needy team right now. The Ravens don't have massive cap space, and so those contracts need to get worked out with Lamar. And I still am going to stand by Marlon Humphrey taking a pay cut if he is staying, but it could be looking at trying to pick up another draft pick for Bateman or another player and just having more draft capital to try and fill these roster holes and add depth and keep it cheaper. And that could be what they're trying to do right now. So that's the big news and updates for today. I'll keep it coming as more news comes out. Expect more free agents to leave. I would really like to see in the next day here or so the Lamar Jackson contract get worked out and the extension happen. And then Alohi Gilman or Adarius Washington, one of them needs to be re-signed into the Ravens and given a longer-term contract. And I want to see Patrick Ricard also given a longer-term contract as well, right there. And at least the Ravens keeping those two. And that's the way I'd like to see it going forward right now. So that is all I have for today. So I'd like to thank you all so much for joining in. And again, if you really are enjoying the content that you are hearing right now and want to keep hearing more, please consider subscribing, liking the video, commenting. Again, that segment that we're going to start with is always coming from the comments that you guys make, and so that will, if you want those shouted out, please comment. It makes my day again too. I wake up every morning and I read them and I comment on them, and it makes my day seeing them. And those of you who want to make comments that aren't as nice, okay, whatever. Again, good or bad comments, it helps the analytics. So if you're making a bad comment, well, you're helping my analytics. And honestly, grow up a little. That's all I have to say on that. If you're on Spotify, please follow, review, leave comments as well. I want to thank you all so much for joining in. I'll be keeping up to date as all the news comes out. And so excited to see how this free agency turns out and going into draft here not too long after. So I'd like to thank you all for joining in. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you all later. Have a great day.